Trauma might have shaken my confidence, but it couldn't change my identity, because worth isn't something that you earn. Worth is something that you remember. Worth is something that you are gifted with. Hi, my friend, and welcome to the Bounce Back Black Woman podcast. I'm Dell, and with God's help, I've overcome some of the toughest trials in life that I could ever have imagined. Do you find yourself struggling to move beyond a heartbreak or a hardship, asking God, why me? Well, I'm here to help women just like you heal and build the resilience to overcome life's greatest trials. If you long for joy and confidence again, this podcast is for you. So grab your headphones and those hardships. Let's talk. Hey friend, and welcome back to Bounce Back Black Woman. Before we get started with today's episode, can I just take a minute and thank you, all of you, for going on this journey with me. I can't believe that we are already at episode 40 of this podcast. It feels like it was just yesterday that it was an idea in my mind and my heart. And the receiving of this podcast has absolutely blown me away. The number of downloads, the listens, the few messages that I've gotten about how these episodes have actually impacted you is my why. And so I would be remiss if I didn't take a second before sharing this next episode to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for growing. Thank you for having the vulnerability to hear these messages and examine how you might grow from them. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes and do that. And if you want to share more with me about how these episodes are landing for you and changing you, please send me an email. The emails that I get from listeners light me up. The email address, in case you don't know, is hello@bouncebackblackwoman.com. And so with that, let's get into the episode. Today we are talking about worth, the part of us that trauma tries the hardest to break. And you'll know that over the last few weeks, we've talked about what trauma really is, how it shows up, and what happens when we don't take the time to process it. But here's the truth, my friend, whether your pain came through a relationship or a job or a family situation or even a financial struggle, trauma almost always attacks your sense of worth. It makes you question whether or not you're lovable, whether or not you're capable, whether or not you're even enough. Enough for those around you, enough for God, and enough for yourself. And friend, when that lie takes root, it doesn't just stay in your past. It starts to shape how you show up in every single area of your life today. Now, I've lived through a lot of seasons where I had to face that lie head on. And I'm going to start today with corporate heartbreak. I remember walking to rooms or virtual rooms where I often was one of the few and sometimes the only Black woman at the table. I worked twice as hard to prove that I deserved to be there, but no matter how much I seemed to accomplish, it never really felt like enough. Not just enough for me, but enough for them. And when decisions were made behind closed doors, I questioned myself. When promotions passed me by, I questioned my own value and worth to the organization. And that's just what trauma does. It rewires you to overperform just in order to feel safe. And it tells you, if I just keep achieving and doing and adding, maybe I'll finally be seen. And then there's romantic heartbreak. Infidelity guts you in a way that few things can, friend. And it's not just about betrayal. It's about the deep, quiet question that creeps in after you learn of the betrayal. Why wasn't I good enough to keep them? Why wasn't I enough, insert your own thing, to keep them? And that lie, if you don't challenge it, will start to echo in every single future relationship that you enter. And you start protecting your heart by shrinking it. You love with caution instead of loving with confidence. And then there's financial heartbreak. I've shared about this on a previous episode, but there was a time when I had to start completely over and rebuild from scratch, from zero. And I remember the fear of checking my account, the shame of not having the things that I was used to having, or the ability to buy the things that I was used to buying, the anxiety that I might never feel financially secure again. And I overcompensated by hustling, thinking if I just stay busy enough, I won't have to feel how uncertain this time in my life feels. Different pain, different chapters, but friend, it's the same lie underneath all of them. You are not enough. And one day, I decided that that lie had lived rent-free in my head for long enough. And that's where my second tattoo, the one that I have right on my skin on my left forearm, says, I am enough. And it's not just ink. I've talked about my tattoos in a prior episode, but that tattoo is a declaration that I had to learn to believe. It is a daily reminder that no matter what I've lost, no matter what I've survived, no matter what I'm rebuilding, my worth was never up for debate. Trauma might have shaken my confidence, but it couldn't change my identity, because worth isn't something that you earn. Worth is something that you remember. Worth is something that you are gifted with. So here's the thing about worth wounds, my friend. They don't always look like pain. They're not always recognizable the way that pain is. Sometimes they look like perfectionism. Sometimes they look like people-pleasing. Sometimes they look like burnout. Trauma doesn't always shout to the heavens. Sometimes it just whispers through small patterns like these. Overcompensating. If I work harder, I'll finally feel like enough. Avoidance. If I don't try it, I can't fail at it. Detachment. If I don't let anyone get close to me, I can't be rejected again. And here's what's wild. These patterns start out as protection for ourselves. They were born from real pain. But what once kept you safe can quietly start keeping you stuck. Because when you start defining your worth by your performance, your paycheck, or your partner, or your perfection, you'll always be just one disappointment away from questioning who you are. When I think about how God sees my worth, my heart often goes to Romans 8. And verses 15 and verses 38 and 39 say this: You received God's Spirit when He adopted you as His own children. Now we call Him Abba Father. And I'm convinced that nothing can ever separate us from God's love. Neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor demons, neither our fears for today or our worries about tomorrow. Not even the powers of hell can separate us from God's love. My friend, I want you to let that sink in for a second. Nothing, not trauma, not heartbreak, not rejection, not failure, can separate you from love that was written into your identity before you even took your first breath. And that means that your worth is not conditional. It's not earned. It is inherited from a Father who loves you and has loved you before you were formed in your mother's womb. When trauma tries to make you question your value, Romans 8 reminds you that your value was settled by God Himself. You are chosen. You are seen. You are His. And maybe that's why my tattoo means so much to me. Because even on the days when I forget who I am, because we're all human, I can look down and remember I am enough because my Father in heaven says I am. So why does this hurt so much? This one hurts because when your sense of worth is wounded, everything starts to feel like proof that you're not enough. You see someone else get what you prayed for, and instead of celebrating them, you start to question yourself. Or you show up to work and you over-deliver, but it never feels satisfying. You love, but you do it with a guarded heart, so it never really fills you up. My friend, unhealed worth wounds can turn life into a constant audition. And God never called you to perform for His love. He called you to rest in it. So here's the takeaway. Trauma may have challenged your worth, but it can never, ever cancel it. Healing begins when you stop believing the lies that your pain has told you, and you start remembering the truth of who God says that you are. And here's your journal prompt to go along with it. Which area of your life, love, work, finances, friendships, health concerns, has you most tempted to question your worth to God? And what would it look like if you showed up this week believing that I am enough, just as I am, with just what I have? Now, friend, I know that this one might have hit deep, because even recording it, to be honest with you, reminds me of just how deep this has hit me. But this conversation, this remembering, it matters, because healing your sense of worth is where every other kind of healing can finally begin. And that's the mistake that many make. They start to try to heal the stuff that's happened without healing their sense of worth. And in the next episode, we're going to close out this trauma series with hope. And we'll talk about what it really means to heal and move forward. And don't forget, my friend, I'll be hosting the Bounce Back Live soon, which is a special interactive workshop where we'll get to go deeper into the how, and we'll unpack what it looks like to identify your triggers, reclaim your worth, and move toward your peace. You can get details by joining my email list at bouncebackblackwoman.com or by clicking the link in the show notes for today's episode. So until next time, my friend, here's what I want you to remember. You don't have to earn your worth. You just have to stop forgetting it, because you are enough. And guess what? You always have been. Well, that's it for today, my friend. I really hope this episode inspired, encouraged, or just plain comforted you. If so, please share it with a friend who might be struggling in her own healing journey. And if you take a moment to leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts, you'll help other women find encouragement through their heartbreak. Remember that God is holding your hand along this journey. And guess what? I'm holding the other. Life is short, so bounce back, Black woman.